everyone, it's Maddie.
And Brie, and today we're going to be giving you some tips for book signings and meeting authors.
We've been to so many signings within the last year, and we've picked up a few things that we thought would be good to know before you went.
Tip number 1 is to get there as early as you can. It really depends on the size of the event, but we normally try and show up about half an hour before the event is due to start. This means you get the best possible seating, and it also gives you a chance to talk to the other people that might be there before the author actually does their talk, or if it's in a queue situation, you can talk to the people in front and behind you.
Number 2 is don't be afraid to sit in the front row. Every time Bea and I have seen seats in the front but not sat there, we've ended up regretting it because it's really limited our view. And I know that maybe sitting in the front row can be a little anxious because normally you're really close to the author and interviewer, but it means that sound is never an issue, and it shows the author that you're really dedicated and want to be there. There's kind of nothing worse than being in an event where everyone goes to the back, because if I was the author, I don't know how I'd feel about that. So it makes you look super responsive.
Tip number 3 will save you some time in the queue and also some awkward moments where you don't have to spell your name out 3 times. For signings, turn to the page that has the title of the book and the author's name, and then stick in a post-it note with your name spelled out in clear font. We always get books signed to Maddie and Bea, and because both of those names have different variants, we have had people get it wrong in the past and had to change it ourselves, or you just awkwardly have to explain to the author at the front that they got it wrong. So use a post-it note and stick it in your own book.
Tip number 4 is to make sure you check the rules of the signing before you go, because there's nothing worse than taking 5 books to a signing and realising that only one is going to get dedicated to you. This can be the case for authors that have a huge series out, multiple books published, or it could just be due to the event. So whether the event is short and they have only like half an hour to get through all the people, or if it's a free event and there's no way to gauge how many people will be there, there'll normally be a limit on how many books they can sign. So knowing how many books that you can take and how many are going to get signed versus how many are going to get dedicated is a really valuable information, if only to save you the weight of carrying all those books around. But if that information isn't available, then cross your fingers and take as many books as you like.
Tip number 5 is to think of something to say whilst you're in the queue, or even better, before you go. If you have absolutely nothing, try one of these. Tell them about your favourite character, your favourite moment or scene in the book, and if it's a series, your favourite book in that series. You can also tell the author how you came to find the book, whether it was from a library, if it was recommended to you by a friend, or if you just bought it on a whim and it really surprised you.
And tip number 6 goes along with the previous one. Think of a question that you can ask the author in order to engage them with you. This can make them feel a lot more comfortable if conversation is directed, just so that you're not both there like, I loved the book, and the only response is great. So you can ask them some questions, like who's their favourite character in the book or series, where did they get their inspiration from, do they have a fan cast for their characters, what was the most challenging part of writing the book, or just ask them to give you a book recommendation of the genre that they write. This tip especially came in handy for us when we met Holly Smale, because she was signing 5 books for each of us, so we had a lot of time to fill at her signing table. So with all of these questions, it meant that conversation never ran dry.
Our next tip might be a little harsh, but it's what you need to hear. Don't ask the authors about publishing in regards to you and your own search. You can ask them about how long did it take until they got published and interesting things about their publishing story, but when people start to ask, how do you get an agent, or how do you write a good query letter, this really isn't the space to be asking them for this kind of advice, just because they are there to be pumped and celebrating their new release. And we're in the front row, so we always see the authors just slightly wilt when people start to ask these questions, because there is only so much they can say that will help you, otherwise it's all individual experience and there's not one clear way to publishing. That's not to say that you can't talk to the author about your own writing, I'm sure they would absolutely love to hear it, but maybe save those questions in a one-to-one format where they can really encourage you and just you, rather than saying these things in an open format like a Q&A session that might not be valuable to everyone else there. Tip number 8 is never be afraid to ask for a photo. Sometimes venues will have those red carpet backdrops which are staged for photos, and then it's just obvious that you're going to get one. But if that's not there and it's not obvious, feel free to just ask the author, because they'll almost always have a publicist there which is on hand to take everyone's phones and take the photos, or if you make friends with people in the line behind you, you can always trust them to take the snap for you. But it's also important to note that the publicist, if they see you with a phone out, they'll take it before you go up to the author, and by no means take this as a reason to speed up your chat. You will get to talk to them and you will get the photo,
So it's not to make you feel anxious, it's just for efficiency.
Number 9 is think where you want to be in the queue. Sometimes you can't help it because if you're sat in an event portion, they might take you row by row or section by section, so you don't really have a decision whether you're in the front, back, or the middle. But if it's a complete free-for-all and you can choose, then these are some things that you need to consider. If you're at the front and at the back, then you are likely to have more time with the author. If you're at the front, they might not have settled how much time each person will get with the author, so you might be lucky and get quite a bit, but it also means that you don't have as much time to think and you might not be as prepared as you want to if you'd had 5 minutes to think about what you're going to say. Again, if you're at the back and it's quite a relaxed signing, then it means you might get free reign and 10 minutes with the author at the end if you're lucky. This is what happened when we went to go and see Alice Oseman and Lauren James. It was really great because after they'd signed our books, we were able to chat to them for a little bit longer because we were the last in the queue and the store wasn't closing. If you're at the back, obviously you're waiting the entire time and the author might be a little drained by the time they get to you, so you need to keep that in mind. And also, if you're at the front, be aware that there is a whole queue behind you that are also equally as excited to get to the author. So while you want to make sure that you have that great experience that's going to be individual to you, you also need to think that you can't totally monopolize their time, and you don't really want to be hassled by the publicist to move on.
Tip number 10 is don't let anxiety hold you back. Now, I know that's easier said than done because it's easy to think of all these things and then when you get to the event you don't know how flustered you're going to be, or you could just feel generally nervous because of the environment or how many people are there. But what we've learned is that it's always best to just take this opportunity as something completely magical that you'll only get to experience once, even if you meet the author multiple times. So don't be afraid to be the one to start conversations with the author or with the other people at the event, because you can make some really great friends and you already have the book that's being signed in common. But also don't panic if you're struggling, because it doesn't mean the event is ruined. It can still be salvaged, and the author is always going to be respectful of all different personality types. Whether you're super confident or super shy, they will adjust to you and try and make you feel as comfortable as possible. I guess a lot of these tips are geared towards having a conversation with the author, but if all you can say is this book meant a lot to me, that is perfectly fine and that's enough, because the author will know where you're coming from.
Tip number 11 is buy your books before the event. You might already have them, it might be for an author that you've loved for a really long time, so you have all their collection and you don't need to buy anything new, in which case, perfect. But if it's for a newer author and it's a total whim that you've decided to go to their event, at least try and get the book before you go, because you don't know what circumstances might be there before you arrive, as in you might not be able to find the book that you're trying to buy, there might not be enough time before the event for you to buy it, and then when it gets to the actual queue, you could end up in a place you don't want to be because you've had to pause to go and buy the book before getting it signed, which they obviously insist you have to do anyway.
And our final tip is to not worry if you don't have a book. This could be whether you've already seen the author and got the book signed, or whether it's a completely new author and you're not quite sure if you want to invest in their book yet. Still go up to their table, because normally they'll have bookmarks or something cute and postcardy that they can sign for you. So we've seen Lauren James multiple times and she only has 2 books published at this point, but when we went to go and see her last, she had these cute little postcards for the loneliest girl in the universe and she signed the back. So isn't that adorable? It still meant that you could come away with something really lovely and you didn't have to invest in a book. But also, if you've borrowed the book from a library or a friend and you don't have your own copy, take a little sticky label and have the author sign that, so if you do want your own personal copy, you'll have a little signed book plate that you can just stick in, because they love doing that in subscription services, so why can't you do it in real life? So those are all the tips we have for you on meeting authors and going to book signings.
We hope this helped you. I'm pretty sure BEA is coming up soon and then YALC is in the summer, so maybe you'll get to employ some of these tips then.
If you've been to any author events in the past or are going to one, make sure to tell us down in the comments below.
And if you have any other tips that we might not have covered in this video, feel free to leave them in the comments, because we all know we could do with some more advice. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you on our next video. Bye!